Greetings, friends.
Oh, you're doing it. Cool start of the episode.
I think it's more impressive that both of us somehow synced it up without knowing we were gonna do that to each other.
I mean, that's the way we start the show. That's the way, like, Jaren does it that way. So we started that way. That's the law.
I was practicing how to do like Jared's voice and stuff as well, and for like 15 minutes before the episode started, but couldn't really get to that point. So I just thought I'd just say greetings, friends, and I guess like that's why we're like two best friends. You know, like we're very synced up. Not like the YouTube channel Two Best Friends. We're just two best friends.
Yep, just two best friends. I'm best friend Matt.
I'm best friend Rakush, not Rakush. You guys might be wondering, where's Jaren? Well, we got some sad news that we're gonna share later on about him, but don't worry, there's still hope. That's all I'm gonna do as the teaser for a later segment. Welcome to Saturday Morning Arcade, Mistake Zone. What do you guys call it nowadays? Yep. Mistake Zone.
I'm pretty sure we just go by Mistake Zone now. Yeah.
Cool. Saturday Mistake Zone. I've made many mistakes on Saturdays. Usually at night.
Yep. Same.
Usually texting people I shouldn't be texting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I guess that's not the kind of content that you normally talk about on the show. So
if you want to talk about the mistakes that we're making in the Mistake Zone, specifically on Saturdays, like I'm down. Like Rakush, this past Saturday I ate 2 double quarter pounders from McDonald's because I was like, oh yeah, I'm driving by McDonald's anyway, I might as well go grab them.
So just to make sure I'm doing the math right, when you say 2 double quarter pounders, that's 4 quarter pounder patties.
Yeah, I think that's just a pound of meat.
That's a pound of meat that you just downed with. Like, did you get rid of the bread or?
No, I just like got them and like I added stuff to them because like, okay, Rakush, do you get the double, or like not even maybe the double quarter pounder, but like the quarter pounder like in general from McDonald's?
So okay, for those who don't know, I worked at McDonald's in my teenage years.
Oh right.
So I don't know if you remember that, but the double quarter pounder always seems like a step too far in terms of just feeling like a human being versus like feeling like. You just got 2 double quarter pounders, so I'm not going to say what I want to say. I'm going to actually...
No. Rakush, this is a safe space between two best friends. If you want to put me on blast, that's what we do.
No. All I'm going to say, bro, is if you eat too many 2 double quarter pounders, or if you have too many days where you eat 2 double quarter pounders, you're going to get delivered to a different world, a different universe, And... in other words, you'd get isekai'd. I don't want you to get isekai'd, Matt. Not another friend getting isekai'd.
Wait, what do you... Oh. But anyways, Rakush.
Yes.
Rakush.
Yeah.
I don't like that McDonald's on the double quarter pounder doesn't have, like, vegetables on it. Or I don't... Okay.
It's got onions and a pickle.
I mean, I want tomatoes and I want lettuce and I want... Actually, I guess just mainly those two, just for, like, burger-wise. And it bothers me that, like, you have to, like, pay 35 cents for each of those to put them onto a burger.
You're actually describing a big extra, I'm pretty sure. That used to be a sandwich they used to sell back in the day when I worked there. Oh. It was essentially a quarter pounder, but they would put, like, lettuce and tomato on it.
I fully forgot about that burger.
Yeah.
Like...
not many people ordered it for what it's worth. Like, it was not a popular item. It just kind of existed.
Like it doesn't tell you what it is when it's just called like a big extra. I
feel
like
that's a good point. Like most McDonald's sandwiches, you would think like what they are, but you're right. That's a good point. I don't think big extras exist anymore. I have not heard of a big extra in a long time.
No, yeah, same. But yeah, I literally just like bought them, took them home, and put my own lettuce and tomatoes on it.
Have you considered just buying or making your own beef patties?
I mean, of course I could do that, Rakush, but like I'm not going to put the time into making like that kind of like beef patty.
It's not that difficult. Like, it's not that difficult.
I know it's not hard.
I've made those at home. Like honestly, I've actually taken like some like kebab marinades and made it at home. Those burgers slap.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I don't really like when the burgers are like a complicated flavor.
Interesting. Like
What's
the limit? What's the threshold for what you would consider a good, I
Like
guess, like patty.
when I make a like beef patty or like a like burger patty for just like like a homemade like burger patty, I'm usually just doing like salt, pepper, maybe some garlic, maybe onion powder in there. But like when I'm making burgers at home as well, I usually just like prefer to go in the smash burger direction.
Yeah.
Where I think simplicity is like key there. So adding like more stuff to it doesn't really like. I feel like it takes away from it.
Sure.
Almost.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think it's also meant to be cooked differently as well, so that could definitely play a big part in just how the flavor goes. I just kind of like I'm brown, for shocker for those who don't know, but like I like spices in my food. So yeah, like using the kebab marinade works really well, but I think like going salt and pepper, as long as you don't go light on the pepper, will do the job as well. Because I do think the patty needs a little bit of a kick when you season it. So yeah.
Actually, while we're talking about this whole like you being brown thing and burgers,
Yes.
do you have a preference between having like the, I guess like spices or marinade or whatever mixed into the meat itself versus having it like, let's say, mixed into a like mayo spread or like an equivalent of that? Like, do you have a preference between having it mixed in or just like put on top?
I think it depends on what kind of mix it is. So like if we're talking dry spices, mixed into the meat. Like if you're talking like ground beef or chicken or whatever, obviously, right? Because I feel like if you mix that with mayo and stuff, it becomes a little not weird or bad, but like it's different. It's not the same kick. If you're talking about something saucy, then I personally like both actually. So like it just kind of depends on a dish. So like if I'm making Chinese food at home, I will actually marinate the chicken in the sauce first. Then I'll cook it up. Like I'll cook the chicken up, and then I'll make a sauce out of the remaining marinade as well, right? So it's like it's a combination of both, if that makes sense.
Oh, true. That makes sense. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I've ever had a Chinese themed burger. Like I've had baos and stuff before, but I don't think I've ever like had a like, oh, we're gonna put a soy sauce on top of this burger, and
It's
we're
true.
gonna put like bok choy instead of like lettuce and stuff like that.
That is that's a really good point actually. But now you got me wondering how like if you were to make a burger patty and you just added a little bit of soy sauce in there along with the dry seasoning and stuff, or like the dry rubs, how that would turn out, because I actually think that would give it a pretty interesting kick, depending on the soy sauce you use.
Yeah, I also feel like it in my head when I'm imagining that it has to be a thick burger, or like at least like a not a smash burger.
I guess like a smash burger would kind of disintegrate if you add too much liquid to it, but if you're just adding for flavoring, I don't disagree with you actually. Sorry, I think it needs to be a little bit thicker personally as well. Now that I think about it.
But Rakush,
Yeah,
we're here.
we're here.
Well, I mean, I guess you're here.
We're here.
'Cause-
Jaren's not.
Yes, Rakush.
Yeah.
As me and you both know, Jaren was isekai'd.
Dun dun dun. Sorry, I just wanted to.
And in honor of our fallen friend,
No,
we're gonna talk about isekais this
transported
episode.
friend. He hasn't fallen. We don't know if he's fallen yet. He's been
I'm pretty sure.
he's been transported to a dimension that we're not sure which dimension it is yet.
I mean, there's a very good chance. I'm pretty sure that in like 95% of isekais, the reason you get transported is because you died.
Yeah, I really hope Jaren doesn't actually die by the time this episode comes out, because it's gonna be real sad, and I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, that would be the worst.
That's gonna take like 50 years worth of therapy to really unwind, like just unravel and like tear down and rebuild myself back up. So I really hope he's alive outside of the joke.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
So rest in isekai, Jaren. Rest isekai. I don't know. I was trying to make a joke there, but there isn't really one that works with the word isekai. So Matt, I'm not an expert on the concept of getting isekai. I wasn't the biggest fan of Sword Art Online, which kind of seems like the moment where isekais became hotly popular.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right? Like I think I think it was Sword Art Online. The second one I can vaguely remember is like Log Horizon, but it wasn't as popular, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think Log Horizon was anywhere close to as popular as Sword Art Online.
Yeah,
Like I definitely agree that Sword Art Online is like the turn or like the not I don't know if turning point is the right word, but like the poster child for when isekai started to take off.
in the traditional, I guess you could call it traditional now, because isekai's been around for a long enough time, I guess, right? Like it's how would you describe it to like how would you describe what it was and where it is now, I guess, right? Like that's what I'm kind of curious about, is what has happened with that genre over the last couple of years, because it does seem like it now has become kind of like the safe genre for a lot of studios to go to, in terms of like, you know, just making a quick buck on a series or something like that.
So if somehow like you're listening to the Mistake Zone and you don't know what an isekai is, I think the very base way to describe an isekai is a type of story where the main character, almost always from our real Earth, gets transported to another world, whether they died and were reincarnated to another world, or they like fell into a hole and then fell into a new world. The basic trope is it is a character that has been moved to a new world and now they have to live there for their foreseeable future.
Yeah, so is that still what isekais are now, or is that kind of like, has it become more of that? Has that evolved over the years? Like what's the scene looking like nowadays?
I think the biggest change that I've noticed from, I guess, early isekai to modern isekai, I don't know if that's even like right to say, because I feel like isekai is still like a modern trend.
Yeah.
But I feel like the biggest thing is that now the whole coming from Earth thing is way less like important. It's almost like just hand waved away. Like I just start like isekai mangas now, and they just, a lot of them start what's the word when a story starts in like kind of in the middle or it's already progressing.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know the right term, but I get what you're explaining.
Yeah, like a lot of the times before, they would start with the character on Earth and then they would kind of progress for a bit and then they would die or something, and then they would get transported. They would usually meet a god or goddess or some kind of like supreme being that explains what's happening to them and then drops them off in the next world.
Let's admit it, it's usually a very hot supreme being, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is anime
like
still.
Yeah, it's still anime. But like usually that's like what happens. But I find now it's a lot of, you kind of start on that person's, I don't know, like first day or first week, and then they're kind of thinking about, oh hey, this is what happened. I'm going to summarize everything within like a minute or in like one manga page. And then we're off to the rest of like the story. I feel like that's like one of the more bigger trends I've noticed in more modern isekai or more recent isekai. But overall, I feel like the formula basically still stays the same. You drop them in, they have some kind of, I feel like the cheat skill is so important to isekai now, that when you don't have a cheat skill, it's wild. But I feel like that's a trend. I mentioned this before when we were talking about Sato-san in Another World, or it's a handyman in Another World. But the cheat skill, I feel like, is sort of integral to the isekai trope or like storytelling style.
Yeah, so like when you say cheat skill, you mean like it's kind of like a quote unquote game breaking skill, right? Like something that breaks the logic of the world that you're being transported into.
Yeah, usually it's something like, oh yeah, you have like super strength, or if it's like a game type world, oh, it's like you gain experience like 2, 3, 4 times speed,
Sure.
or you have like this super strong sword that like does, I don't know, like whatever, like, and you're, and I feel like it's almost also always you are the chosen one for this world, and we need you to defeat the demon lord. I feel like that's also very typical of isekai stories, but I don't know if that's necessarily required. At the very base, you are being transported to another world, and usually you have some kind of mission, and to do this mission, you are provided some sort of skill by your supreme hot being.
So like I've started watching a lot more anime, I would say, in the last 7-8 months. Again, there's just been a lot of good shows that have come out, but I still can't find myself getting into isekai series. I can't get isekai into isekai, you know? It's just not happening for me yet. But one thing I have noticed is that the titles of these shows is getting increasingly longer and like way more literal in describing what the shows are about.
I don't think that's limited to isekai. I feel like
it kind of feels like it started from there. Maybe it's a free like a false association that I'm doing there. Sure, but it feels like it's an isekai thing where it's like I got run over by a bus and now I fell into a coma and now I'm in a world full of like hot bunny girls, and I feel like that probably exists as an anime. I don't know.
I mean, like regarding that, the real reason that that's been happening is a lot of these are kind of being adopted from either light novels or online like web novels. And I'm sure you've noticed that these days, like I'm gonna say me included, have like everybody has a very short attention span.
Yes.
And if you can't catch somebody in like the 2 or 3 seconds it takes them to read your title, you're gonna lose them. They're never gonna like come back and read your thing. So it's become kind of a trope within like titles in the Japanese community to kind of just put a very, very direct idea of what your story is about. Sorry, I was thinking of songs because it just reminded me of like early 2000s emo songs.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, what if it takes you longer than 2-3 seconds to read the title? Like, if it takes like 15 seconds, then like, is your attention span gone after the first 3 words? Like,
I mean, if they caught you and you read the whole thing, like I feel like that's a win for them, right?
I guess, yeah, you're right. Okay, so let's move into the meat of this episode. We have a couple of things that we kind of want to do with regards to isekais. Now, we want to talk about getting isekai'd and like if you had a choice of any, let's limit it to animes, but like any anime world that you would like to get isekai'd into. You got a list of those, Matt? Like you got any that really like you watch that and you're like, damn, I wish I were in that show?
I feel like always number one for me, the world that I would want to get isekai to, not limiting this to isekai, like anime, just like any world in general, is the world of Pokemon. I feel like that would be like such a good world to get isekai into. One, just because like I think like Pokemon in and of itself, I think is like a very like fun concept. The world itself isn't necessarily dangerous. Like the world like seems like pretty like safe in terms of anime, and like I think it's fair to call Pokemon a shonen. Like in terms of like shonen worlds, you're pretty safe. It seems like they have like pretty good Pokemon healthcare, and you get to like wander around and like, you know, like I always wanted to like kick it with a Slowpoke, and oh man, Rakush, I don't know if you know this, but like I think like sometime in the last year they created a like I think it's like a I hate doing this kind of conversion. It's like a 40,000 yen life-sized Slowpoke doll. Oh, and God. I'm so pissed that I missed the purchasing window on that because it's not being made anymore.
I have to ask you a question right away. A life-size Slowpoke doll would be far too big to fit in any of our houses. So what were you genuinely upset about?
No, Slowpoke isn't that big.
Slowpokes are huge, aren't they?
They're like they're like under 5 feet, I'm pretty sure.
I have to look this up right now. 1 second.
Okay. Slowpoke length.
Oh, no, you know what? No, this is where I messed up. I was thinking Snorlax.
Oh, yeah, no, a life-size Snorlax would be huge. There's a bunch of like big Snorlax pillows, but like, yeah, I looked up Slowpoke length. It's 3'11", so like, just under 4 feet. I guess
that's not.
Which I think is I think that's a reasonable size. Of course, like $400-ish is like a lot for that, but I feel like there's also like the whole branding of a Slowpoke, and I don't know.
Yo, bro, is $400 really a lot when you get the warmth of a Slowpoke when you're sleeping at night?
Dude, I would have bought it. I would have had one. I would have sent you a picture of it. Like if I was able to buy it, I would have owned one already.
That's what I'm saying.
But I missed the purchasing window for it, so they're like not making them anymore.
It's a regret worth having, is what I'm saying. Because you could have had a Slowpoke to sleep with at night instead of the cold loneliness of the dark. Moving on.
I just bury myself in pillows. But
You
yeah,
know,
I think like Pokemon is a very strong like candidate for a like fun world to live in because you don't need to be the main character in that world to I think have fun in it and not die.
okay, like Pokemon has my brain is weird. For anyone who's known me for a long time, again, that's not a shocker, but my brain is weird. So sometimes I'll look at long-standing franchises and start thinking about how absurd it would be if it were kind of the real life version of that. Pokemon to me is kind of like that recently because I started watching a lot of dog rescue videos on YouTube, and so now I keep thinking about Pokemon in like dog rescue video terms. So it's like when you're capturing a Pokemon, you're actually rescuing a Pokemon from the wild, and like you're giving them like a good home to be in and stuff. So it's like now suddenly it's like you're actually doing like some good work for humanity and shit like that as well. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of comfy as well. But then I would challenge one thing about it being a fully comfortable world, right? Because like for all the cute Pokemon there's also a bunch of like ones that I would not want to see in real life. Like any of the insect type Pokemons would scare the shit out of me because of how big they are.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If I saw like a Metapod in real life, I'd be like, absolutely not.
Really, a Metapod?
Think about seeing that in real life. Like if that were a real thing that were just like just there in the grass one day as you're walking. Like that's just kind of weird.
Metapod is actually probably one of the ones I would want to see. I don't know if I don't think I've ever told you like the story, Rakush, but like when I was younger, I used to love just like playing in the woods and looking at like playing with bugs. And I always found it like so cool whenever I found a like cocoon or something. So I think like Metapod would maybe actually be my jam.
Yeah, see, like I don't like cocoons or like shells of that kind of sort because it's just, yeah, I don't know. It feels like I would not want to see a Metapod in real life. But more importantly, Matt, why did you stop playing in the woods?
There's just a lot of good video games.
What if you took your video games into the woods?
Where am I going to plug them in, Rakush?
Just ran it on solar power or like battery powered. There's full on generators nowadays that you can use.
I mean, I think I was like 10.
And then you could go play with all your cocoon friends and shit, so it's like they could all come and like hang out with you and like the Slowpoke plushie and stuff. It would be a fun time. You'd be with all your friends.
God. I'm just thinking about how dirty that Slowpoke plushie would get if I had one as a kid and just brought it into the woods and brought it back into the house. That thing would be disgusting. That thing would have bugs living in it 100%.
So there you go. You've now just
my mom would
bugs.
kill me, Rakush. I would be dead. We never would have met, and we never would be doing this episode.
I mean, if we never met, your life would be like 1,000 times better. But yeah. Anyways, on that dark note, Pokemon. What else you got?
I was about to say Harry Potter, but that's not an anime.
Well, okay. Make the case.
I mean, okay. Assuming that you get to go into the magical side of Harry Potter, I think that like that would be a fun one minus all the, I guess, inherent controversy around the Harry Potter universe right now.
Yeah, we don't talk about the writer. It's like we don't talk about the person who did that song for Space Jam. Redacted. That's what we go with.
In my head, the Harry Potter universe seems generally safe. I feel like that's an important thing for me for isekais, or if I was to like get isekai'd into a world, is the safety of the world that you're gonna get isekai'd into.
Okay,
because I feel like I can't think of many magical I guess like worlds or universes where you're not just like there's not a lot of like danger. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I hear you, right? But like, if it's an escapist fantasy, would you want to go back from one comfort to one comfort, or would you want a little bit of adventure and danger?
Oh hell no! I don't want to incorporate any adventure. I mean, maybe adventure, any danger. What are you saying? I want to. If I'm getting isekai'd, I feel like for me a big thing about isekais is the power fantasy of it all, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, I don't know, almost certainly safe. Like when I'm thinking about in this scenario at least, when I'm thinking about getting isekai'd into another world, I'm not thinking of one where I'm getting isekai'd in as the main character. It's more like I'm getting isekai'd in as an NPC. I don't know if you've been looking at it like differently or not.
Oh, okay. So you don't want to be the main character in that world.
Oh no, I was thinking just in if I was the main character in that world, like I still think both of those like worlds would still be like pretty good, but I feel like if you're an NPC in either of those worlds, you're still like generally pretty okay. Versus something like I think if you were isekai'd into, sorry, I'm gonna go away from the video, or I'm going to go away again from the anime thing, but like
Let's
something
do it.
like Diablo. Like if you were the main character in a Diablo game where like you have like you are the pinnacle of being in that world, where you are just like super strong, you have tons of magics, or you just like, you know, you're like so strong as like a barbarian or something, like that sort of like power thing where you are the main character, that world is great. But if you're an NPC in Diablo, you're dead in like an hour probably.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I feel that.
you know what I mean? Like I feel like that's like an important distinction to make for this type of question.
Fair, yeah. It's like I guess it really just depends on what rules and parameters we go with, right? Like if we get into the nitty gritty of like the question, it's like, are we changing the rules of that universe? If not, then sure. Like there are some where you'd rather want to be the protagonist versus the NPC. But I think in the Pokemon world, you would probably want to be the NPC. I think Hogwarts, yeah, probably NPC as well. Just based on the way the books kind of leisurely killed off some like main characters and the constant danger that the main characters were in. Yeah, I could see that.
What about you, Rakush? Do you have any worlds that you would like to get isekai into, either as the protagonist or as an NPC?
I feel like I would love to be an NPC in like the Cowboy Bebop or Trigun universe.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
like
yeah.
the Bebop universe as an NPC feels like it's all like downtrodden and mundane and stuff like that, but there seems to be at least a little bit of plot armor where like no one really gives a shit about you, so you probably will survive.
Okay.
So like I would probably say one of those two, but I would have to go there as not a brown person. I feel like that's an important disclaimer to give, because I don't think I would survive in many of these places as a brown. Maybe so. Bebop universe, I'd survive as a brown person, but like if I go to like say for example the Samurai Champloo universe, I don't think a brown guy in like samurai period Japan is gonna survive a long time. You know what I mean? Or like be inconspicuous. I would have to kind of end up being a notable character that eats it like midway through the season. So maybe not as a brown person in Samurai Champloo. Maybe not even in Trigun. I don't know. I wonder what else. I like. You know what? I would go live in the Urusei Yatsura universe. It's regular with aliens, and it's funny as hell. So I feel like I would go there. I don't know. Like I haven't really given much thought to like, oh man, I'd love to live in this world kind of thing. You know, I just usually black out whatever those things happen because I'm just like, yeah, it's time to go to sleep now, and that's my escape. So.
Yeah. Like I also feel like one of the important things for me is that like I don't feel like I could get isekai or would want to be isekai into a fantasy world now that I think about it, just because of the convenience of modern toilets.
Yeah. Like, okay, so you and I have been playing Monster Hunter Rise. Like, this might be a way to sneak that conversation into this episode. But like,
Yes.
I would not want to. I would want to be an NPC in that world. But like,
Oh really?
I would, because I feel like the NPCs inside the city are mad OP in that world. So I would probably want to be an NPC in that one, but I would not want to be the main character, because then I'd have to go and fight giant monsters with me being me. I don't think I'd want to do that.
I'm pretty sure the NPCs like do that as well. I feel like that's just a regular thing, and the main character that you play as in Monster Hunter is usually just the best of the best.
Yeah, but the NPCs off screen that shit, and they're usually treated as like, you know, plot armor, can't really have shit happen to them. So that's why I'd want to be an NPC in that universe. Plus, I'd get to eat like the food made by the cats. You know, so like that would be cool. I would actually rather go to Monster Hunter World versus Rise. I don't know about you.
I don't know which one I would want to go. I think the world in Monster Hunter World is actually a lot better than the world in Monster Hunter Rise. But because I don't know, that whole I guess even story wise, the idea of Monster Hunter World happening in a new undiscovered continent, as far as
It's too
I don't know if
dangerous.
it's a continent, but like no, as far as adventure goes, seems like very interesting. Whereas I'm pretty sure Monster Hunter Rise takes place in a known place.
Yes.
Like, if I'm going to be in a dangerous place, I think the aspect of adventure and discovery is very interesting to me, which is why, I don't know. Yeah.
So for the listeners who don't know the story in the two games, just a quick summary. So Monster Hunter World is about you basically being Christopher Columbus in the Monster Hunter universe. Like, you're trying to find a continent. So you end up on a continent, like, basically with a bunch of monsters, and you're trying to figure out, you know, who they are, what they are, how to fight them, so on and so forth. Now, the cool thing about that universe is that they've got this giant ass ship on the very top of the hub city that they have, which you can go up, and it's got like this amazing view. But then they also have a bunch of cool looking cats that cook. Monster Hunter Rise has cool looking cats that cook as well, but the difference there is that you've basically been in that city, or like that city has existed for more than a century, according to the plot. So two different worlds, two different settings. The one in Rise is a lot more like, you know, feudal Japan,
Established. Oh yeah.
kind of like aesthetic, whereas World, I would say, is more Pirates of the Caribbean style.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I would go to World personally because of that giant ass pirate ship.
Okay. Yeah, I feel that.
Well, okay, so we're talking about like the dangers of isekais and stuff like that, right? Like, I already know which one I don't want to go to.
Oh yeah, I can think of a few.
I can think of a few as well, but like, I 100% know there's at least one where I would absolutely not want to end up in, and that is the Neon Genesis Evangelion universe.
Oh, as a main character, yeah, that's probably pretty bad. I feel like.
Oh no, as any of those characters, because
Yeah.
I feel like every character, NPC or main in that series, is at risk of dying.
I feel okay. I can't remember exactly because it's been a while since I've watched any of the Evangelion stuff. Like, how does? Because I'm pretty sure the world ends a couple times within that series.
Yes.
Like, I can't remember how any of the world ending stuff happens. Is it just like the world gets destroyed, or was it just like erased or just like removed? I can't really remember. Do you?
It's I mean, if we start talking Evangelion, this is going to be a very complicated episode, but
Yeah.
I think if you're just going off the original series, the world only ends at the end of Evangelion, where I think like third impact or fourth impact or whatever the fuck it's called happens. So that's like one time the world ends. The other times are in the new movies, like, you know, it happens again as well. But they're essentially meant to be kind of like all part of the same story, actually. I guess, spoiler alert. They all technically, even though like the new movies are a reboot, are a continuation of the past as well. So like, it's almost cyclical. Like, the world ends, it resets. They go through the motions again, world ends again, slightly different way, basically, on and on. So yeah, I would not want to be in that universe because the world keeps fucking ending. And if I wanted to be in a world that's ending, I would just stay in the real life.
Dav. But like, as far as I guess other anime goes, I feel like one of the most popular anime is probably also one of the ones that I think is the worst world to have to live in, which is the world of Attack on Titan.
Yeah,
I think that is just like a rough world for everybody in that show.
Oh, you know what? I actually forgot one that I no, I don't know if you know what this is. Okay, I'm gonna ask you, and we'll figure out together if I want to get isekai'd into this world or not.
Okay.
One Piece. I don't know if I want to get isekai'd there because that world is far too vast and there's far too many different unique islands that it's like
there's so many bad
places I could end up at that it's like I don't know if I want to. But if you just isekai me to like the East Blue version of One Piece, which is like super chill, I would love the shit out of that because that's just a vacation.
I mean, I guess that's like, as far as like as far as like places go, like the safe islands in One Piece are probably like pretty good,
right? Yeah,
but I feel like a majority of that world, from what I can remember, is pretty rough. But that might just be because, you know, story entails content.
Also, I'm not the biggest fan of like deep sea or anything like that, and there's so much of the ocean and sea in that world that like.
Oh, why would you pick that place? Wait, can you swim?
No, I know how to swim, but like the concept of like something unknown underneath me that I will never be able to reach or see, but them being able to like, hit me out of nowhere is extremely terrifying. Like if you like, it's that cliched question of like outer space or deep sea. Like I would rather go to outer space. Like deep sea would honestly genuinely scare the shit out of me.
I feel like both of those kind of like are iffy for me, but like
sure,
yeah, I think I would rather go like space.
I feel like space, at least, it's like it's vast in a way where it's more optimistic unknown, whereas deep sea is like this shit's gonna kill me unknown.
Yeah, I feel that.
So that's why it's like I don't know if I would get isekai'd into the One Piece universe. I feel like shonens in general, I'm not actually certain I would want to, because a lot of shonens have a lot of collateral damage. Like Dragon Ball Z has crazy collateral damage. Like the world has been blown up a couple of times in the latest movies as well, which is kind of wild. Naruto, like the villages get fucked up. My Hero Academia is going through a bunch of that right now.
I think as an NPC of like the big shonens, I think Bleach is maybe safe. As like a normal person.
Like, but where in Bleach, right? Because there's different worlds. Like you have regular place, you've got Soul Society, you've got Huecomundo. Like if you're an NPC in Huecomundo, you're probably fucked. NPC in Soul Society, you're recently fucked. Yeah. In the real world, it's like you're just real. Like that's real life.
Yeah, you're just a normal. Yeah, it's not real life.
So okay, let's go back to Attack on Titan because you did bring that up. Is there anything that would make you say, "All right, cool, I'll get isekai'd into that universe"?
I don't think so. That world is like overall just rough. Like even within the normal human society, you are living in like constant danger. I guess like if you were like a rich person in that world, like it's as good as being a rich person in any world, because you're generally like safe and you kind of get to live in luxury. But I think that really that'd be the only way that I could do it if I was a rich person and I was also secretly a Titan. Like I think those are like the two conditions I would need to willingly be brought into the Attack on Titan world.
Usually you would not want to be in that world because you're like, oh, I don't want to be crushed by Titans, right? I would not want to be in that world because the characters are insufferable. And I don't want to be standing next to them while they're giving me like a 5-episode long flashback when like that shit could have been talked about at any given time at any different point.
That's any show, Raku.
Yeah, no, but like I don't want to get isekai'd into a world with insufferable people. And Attack on Titan is a world full of insufferable people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shonen decision making going on in like any kind of shonen.
Yeah, I guess we should move on from this unless you got other ones that you want to add to the list.
No, I can't really think of any. I mean, okay, you know what? Maybe Splatoon would probably be a fun world to get isekai'd into.
As a human or as a squid?
As a squid kid. I feel like as a squid kid, Splatoon is probably a fun place. You know, you're just like going around with your friends shooting each other with like ink guns, and you somehow respawn. Like I feel like it's explained in world how that happens, but like I think that's a generally safe world. There's nothing really bad happening there except maybe like Salmon attacking every so often, but I don't know, there's people for that.
Am I crazy, or isn't there like this whole backstory about how the Splatoon universe is actually kind of like this post-apocalyptic wasteland?
I think it's after, I believe the story is that after some bad stuff happened on real Earth, it got like repopulated by whatever the Splatoon people are. I'm pretty sure it's like a post. I don't know what that genre would be called. Like I feel like it's not fair to call it post-apocalyptic.
You know what?
But maybe
hold
like
on to that thought. Hold on to that thought.
Okay.
That is gonna come up soon. I promise you. Because there's a bunch of things you're saying I'm gonna use to make a case for something that's coming up shortly. But
okay.
I guess, can you be comfortable in a post-apocalyptic universe? Like, if you get transported to, like, Horizon Zero Dawn, and, like, that's, like, 2,000 years in the future or some shit like that? Like, would you feel like that's a comfortable place to be in as well, right? Because, like, it's still technically the post-apocalyptic universe.
I feel like something like that is fine, because, like I was saying, that's not really... when I think of post-apocalyptic as a genre, I think like almost immediately after a apocalypse has happened, you are in like a post-apocalyptic state, like kind of like how Fallout games sort of are.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Horizon, I feel like is so far after the apocalypse that society has reformed. It's almost like a post-apocalyptic,
sure,
where you're back in like new industrial era. I don't know if that's like the right way to say it, but like a new like modernization of the world. Like I feel like that's
It's the
an
rebuilding
okay.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's an okay world to like be in.
Would you want to be in a position of power in like a post-apocalyptic universe?
I think I would want to be in a position of power in any universe. I feel like that's like the safest play.
I feel like I would not. I don't know. It's like a lot of pressure
Oh
when
yeah.
society is dwindling to have to make decisions for the betterment of everyone, unless you're like one of those Walking Dead kind of leaders where you just kind of do shit for yourself.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I would definitely be one of those people. I would definitely like be for sure 100% in it for myself.
Well, I mean, you gotta have that honesty, you know.
Yeah. I
For
mean,
sure.
I'll try to help people, but like the minute that starts getting rough, I'm like, I'm either going to defer to somebody else or just be like, I'm dead, I guess.
Yeah. So Matt, I want to ask you about a version of isekai that like it feels like I haven't seen happen too much, but I'm also wondering if it kind of exists, right? Because like there's a lot of like going into different worlds, but is there like an isekai where you come into this world, I guess?
I feel like that's sort of becoming a thing. Like I think the most popular one that I can think of is The Devil is a Part-Timer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one where like that demon lord ends up working at like fake McDonald's. Like I feel like that's probably I would consider that a reverse isekai.
So okay, so like that's the term reverse isekai, like that's basically people coming into this world.
I feel like maybe it's also technically an isekai, but I feel like technically that is an isekai, but it's also a reverse isekai in the sense that it's someone else coming to this world. I feel like that's maybe an important aspect of it. Like I know that it is technically exactly an isekai from the demon's point of view, but
Huh.
I feel like for the sake of, us human audience, this is a reverse isekai. It's kind of like a trap and a reverse trap, where technically they're both traps, but you call one a reverse trap because like the implication of original trap.
A term that is not used as frequently anymore and probably shouldn't be
Yeah,
used
yeah,
as much
but like
anymore.
I feel
for the
like that's
record.
like a good explanation on what a reverse isekai is in relation to regular isekai.
It's wild when you think on like what like terminology has been used online in like not even the history, just like the last like 10 years, and you're like, what the fuck are these guys talking about sometimes? Anyways, okay. So I got a question for you. Are you familiar with the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes where Homer gets teleported into like this 3D space, and it ends, and so it ends with him ending up in the real world? Are you confident in saying that episode of The Simpsons is a reverse isekai?
I think it would be fair to say that episode ends as a reverse isekai.
So we here at the Mistake Zone have just unlocked a massive truth, which is that The Simpsons is an isekai.
The Simpsons isn't an isekai. That episode was a reverse isekai storyline.
Yeah, but the headline that The Simpsons is an isekai reads way better than
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's
that
true,
episode of The
that's true.
Simpsons
Yeah,
is a.
You're right.
Matt, play the game. You know,
You're
It's
right.
like
You're right.
you gotta-
You're right. You're right.
You got to make the broad assumptions, you know. So
you're right. This is the clickbait title.
clickbait title take 2. All right, so like let's whoop, 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 reverse, you know. And okay, so Matt, would you say that The Simpsons, have we just unlocked a big truth here at the Mistake Zone that The Simpsons is an isekai?
Yes, Rakush, I believe that we can with 100% confidence say that the American animated series The Simpsons is an isekai.
Would you say American anime The Simpsons is an isekai?
Rakush, let's not get out ahead here.
To be fair, there was a Death Note episode of The Simpsons like not that long ago, like last in 2022, I think.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That episode wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
I keep
Like, I
hearing
thought
that.
it was okay.
And I keep hearing that, like, you know, modern Simpsons by recent standards is really good. But I also, I feel like there is a set era of The Simpsons that I go back and watch, and I refuse to, you know, watch 2/3 of that show because of what it ended up becoming. It wasn't anything offensive or nothing. It's just like it's kind of boring. But
like I want to check out The Simpsons sometimes, but I feel like an integral part of The Simpsons for me growing up was like the TV era, and not having an easy place to find it to like stream. I feel like it like really takes away from me watching The Simpsons.
If you do have Disney Plus, it is available there. So if you ever just want to go back and watch it,
I thought that's only the older episodes though.
I'll check at the end of this episode for you, but they do have a lot of seasons on there. I'm pretty sure it goes at least into the 20s, if not into the 30s.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and they have the original like 10 seasons in its original resolution as well now, so like you don't have to watch it in like the cropped out version that was cropping out some of the visual gags and stuff like that as well. So they fixed that one last
nice
year before this or last, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have now set the baseline for an important conversation now, Matt, because we have just made a massive discovery that isekais aren't just animes, which we were talking earlier about the sad news that our good friend Jaren has been isekai'd. I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons I wanted to learn more about isekais is because I wanted to do something to try and bring him back. Maybe we figure out which world he's been isekai'd into, so then it's like when we watch the TV and like I can like talk to him directly and maybe he'll hear it from the other side. It all makes sense in my head. But now that I know that like it's not just animes that are isekais, it makes things a little bit more difficult, so I think there's a list of things and like franchises that now we have to go through and figure out, like, is this an isekai, and do I need to now go and watch some of these things to try and find our good friend Jaren and try to bring him back to the real world, So it's we're gonna do something here that we're gonna call Isekai or Isn't a Kai. Isekai or Isn't. I don't know. Whichever one works, we'll go with that. I'm gonna throw 4 franchises your way, and over the next little while, we are gonna discuss these and try to figure out if these stories can be considered isekais.
Okay.
Or isn't a kai.
Okay.
Okay. So, first one we're gonna start with. It's so I've written this down here, all right, because I just watched this movie recently. Mm-hmm. I need to ask you, was Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, isekai'd into the modern day? Because, his story is that he was frozen in a solid block of ice, like after the Second World War. He comes back and it's like this ultra futuristic society. Like, think about just what all new shit there was for him to like explore and learn, like there's a goddamn television now that he can watch. There are people talking to each other from across the world without like, almost instantly. Like it all feels like magic, so it's like this guy has just been thought out in like the 2000s and it's the future for all intents and purposes. So it's like, let's it's like there is a concept of like going into a new world there. Like it's the same world, but it's also not,
I understand where you are coming from, but my issue with that in particular with Captain America is that I feel like it was too short of a time for it to be considered an isekai.
Interesting.
I think that maybe a better argument for what you're saying is anime-wise, something like Dr. Stone, but more so Western-wise, I think Futurama might be a better idea of a isekai with like regards to like something that you're talking about.
So you're saying Matt Groening, famous isekai author, has another isekai series in Futurama?
I think so. I think Futurama, I think you could call that an isekai. I think it would be fair to like call that an isekai.
Okay. I think I've just trapped you into confirming that one of the upcoming names is an isekai.
Okay.
So let's go from Captain America into this next one, which I was going to do later, but let's talk about it now. And it's the Terminator universe, because we've got all these future robots that are time traveling back into the past to kill John Connors and, try to basically stop him from becoming like this rebel leader that fights against the Terminators. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It's not that long of a period because like it's probably only like 20, 30 years back in the past. But think about how different that world ends up being, though, in those 20, 30 years. You know what I mean?
Okay, Rakush, my knowledge of the Terminator series is basically half of Terminator 1 and half of Terminator 2, and I think a majority of Terminator 3. That's basically all the Terminator knowledge I have.
Somehow the worst Terminator movie is the one you have
Yes.
the most knowledge
Yeah.
of. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But I feel like an integral part of like isekai is having the character like be suddenly transported into a new world. Now I don't know if this happens in Terminator. Like I don't know if any of the main characters like get dropped into what like wherever the Terminators are coming from in the future or not. I don't know if that's like a plot point that happens.
It's not too sudden. You're saying it's too planned of a time travel story for it to be an isekai.
Yeah, like I feel like that just like puts into the genre of time travel, because then I feel like you could argue that what's the name of that movie with Doc Brown and the DeLorean?
Back to the Future.
Yes, I feel like, because if you're saying that something like Terminator is an isekai, I think that Back to the Future could be technically an isekai, but I feel like they both
I would
aren't.
say, for the record, I am open to both of them being an isekai.
I feel like those are time travel stories. I feel like an important part of an isekai is having to live in that world for a bit. That might be an important part of an isekai story, like adapting to maybe not even adapting, but just like living within that new world.
I hear you. Okay. Let's go back to the Marvel universe real quick, because I feel like I've actually found the correct isekai in the Marvel universe.
Okay.
So you were talking about Dr. Stone. I've got Dr. Strange. Now, in the last movie, Multiverse of Madness, he ends up going and meeting a bunch of these different characters, like Professor Charles Xavier, Reed Richards, Black Bolt. And so is Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness an isekai?
I don't think those are isekais either. Like I said, I think an important part of the isekai is living in that new world. I think that like Doctor Strange is just a different type of, like, I consider it like I wouldn't say something like everything everywhere all at once is an isekai. That's just like a universe like jumping story, right? In the same way that
a great movie, by the way, worth watching.
Yeah, like I think those two movies fall into the same genre, and that genre isn't isekai.
Okay, so you're saying if Doctor Strange decided, or like if Wanda ended up staying in the, because she was trying to isekai herself into another universe to be with her kids. Mm-hmm. Like if she stayed there, it would be an isekai.
I think Wanda's story would have been an isekai. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, we're getting closer to maybe finding Jaren, because like once we figure out if this is an isekai, like we can then call the Jaren while watching this movie. But it's not close enough, is what you're saying. You're saying Wanda Maximoff still not an isekai story because she doesn't stay there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think she was trying to isekai, but she never quite made the plot leap.
Dang. Okay, this is difficult. This is very difficult. It's like it's a lot of Isn'tekais right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got one more. It's not an isekai in the traditional sense, but I feel like we're getting closer. It's the movie Freaky Friday, based on the book from the 70s, based on the movie from the 70s as well. The one from 2003, starring Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. Where like they basically like the mom and daughter switch bodies for like a whole Friday, basically. It's like it's a body swap thing. Like is isekai, like is that considered an isekai experience? Like you're living in a different person's body and life. Like that's got to be some sort of isekai, no?
No, what you literally just call this a body swap story. Okay,
so not an isekai, but body swaps are part of an isekai concept, are they not? Like
I don't know. It's okay. I don't think it's really a body swap in a lot of isekai stories. I think it's almost a body takeover. Because usually, because usually in the stories you're taking over somebody else's life because they somehow died. That actually would be an interesting story, because then you could argue that what is the name of that anime movie? Was very I think Your Name could technically be an isekai. Was that the one with the body swapping?
You talking about the one from 2016?
I think so, yes. Where that main guy and the main girl like body swap, and spoilers for people who haven't watched this like very very popular anime movie, they're technically also like time traveling when they're switching bodies.
So okay, so we're saying that I feel like you're making the case for Freaky Friday as an isekai right now.
Oh no, I'm saying like if you're gonna call Freaky Friday an isekai, that is an isekai as well.
I'm open to that. Again, I feel like I don't mind, more maybe I do mind more isekais. I don't know. There's also another con to this, which is that if Freaky Friday is an isekai, I don't know if we can translate that concept to Jaren, because then that would mean like Jaren's done some Freaky Friday body swap thing with his dad, and like I don't know how to like go talk to his dad. I don't know how his dad is. He seems.
I've known Jaren for I want to say 20 years. No, not 20 years is too long. Maybe like 15 years. I don't think I've spoken more than like 3 minutes to his dad.
Now, you know his dad better than I do because you've got 3 more minutes than I do, right? But like, do you get the sense that Jaren might be turning into his dad slowly but surely recently? Because if that's the case, I feel like there's a larger philosophical question here, which is, are we all just getting isekai'd into being our parents in this like slow, torturous way,
I think that also falls into a time travel story or a body swap story. I don't think those are isekais. I think you have to suddenly become your dad. I don't know. Oh. Maybe
you're saying we're all you're saying we're all time travelers.
Are all stories isekais? Are you saying that like a body swap is actually just an isekai on a very small scale?
I'm asking you because you're the product expert, so I'm trying to figure out, because all I care about is getting our friend Jaren back to the mistake zone.
Are you saying our friend Jaren is trapped inside his dad's body?
I mean, I can't envision it, but what if that's what's happened? What if that's why Jaren's not here right now? Jaren, like, reach out to us, bro. Like, reach out, let us know what's going on, because yeah. It's tough. I don't know. I'm running out of ideas here for where he could be, but I got one more. I am almost confident this is an isekai. Super Mario Bros.
Oh, that's an isekai. That's an isekai, baby.
I think we found Jaren because I think all I gotta do is load up like Super Mario Odyssey or like one of the Mario games, start a multiplayer game, and then Luigi's gonna pop up. And if you ask me, Jaren and Luigi are like the same person,
Yeah, they're basically they're both tall and they both like green. That's basically all you need to be be Jaren.
I feel like Jaren once had a little bit of a mustache as well, so like I feel like we found Jaren, so what is I think Mario is an isekai. I think that's the one, it's especially if you go by the movie from the 90s, because it's a plumber and his brother from the real world.
I mean, even the new one. Even the new one is an isekai, I think.
The upcoming one with
the upcoming one,
noted Italian what's his name?
Mario?
No, noted Italian Chris Pratt.
Is he Italian?
I don't think so.
Yo, okay.
I don't know actually.
While we're on this like Super Mario Brothers thing, did you know that they like set up as a promotion for this movie? They set up a like plumbing website or a business website for the Super Mario Brothers plumbing company.
Really? For like the new movie?
Yeah, it's at smbplumbing.com, and this website is exactly what I would expect if Mario had a website. Like, it is all one page. It has a scrolling banner at the bottom. It has a broken picture link on it. Has some like testimonials on it. Like,
it's pretty good. This
site is pretty good. There's a phone number at the top that says to call or text us at 929-55-MARIO. And I kind of want to know what happens when you text that number. By the way, this seems very concerning. This number is US only and 18 plus.
Yeah, so are you saying that this is actually a phone sex hotline for Mario and Luigi? Are you saying that Jaren is trapped?
Oh my god.
Are you saying Jaren is trapped doing sex work over the phone as Luigi?
Oh god, I hope not. That Rakush, I might have to bleep this out. But I'm gonna bleep that out. I'm just gonna cut that.
Yeah, I think we ignored that conversation.
Oh man,
We'll chat about it after we go off. Right? We'll figure it out a little bit.
uh-huh.
Matt, I think we found Jaren. I see him right now. I see him on this page.
He's wearing green.
He's wearing
on his head.
I hear Jaren in his Jaren voice saying "Wahoo!" Like I hear it. You know, he is right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got him. So I think our search is done. I think it is Super Mario Isn'tekai, and so you know I am going to now log off, go play Mario Bros, and like you know get him to the end of the game so that he can escape.
Oh,
Thank you for your help, friend.
Mario's hard, man. I don't know. That game's hard. I don't think I've ever legitimately finished a classic Mario game.
Yeah, I might also have to unlock Luigi because Luigi's usually a hidden character. Jaren is trapped as a hidden character inside of the Mario Isekai. It is a dire situation right now. You know, thoughts and prayers.
Rakush, if you were in a video game, would you want your character to be a default character or an unlockable character?
Ooh, unlockable character.
Oh, really? Okay. I think I'd want to be default, just so you know, everyone knows I'm there.
See, I prefer to be left alone most of the time, so if you don't know about the unlockable character, it's a better chance you don't approach me.
Okay, yeah. I also feel like there's like this whole thing with an unlockable character where if you don't know that they're an unlockable character and you do unlock them, I don't want someone to see me unlock me and be like, oh, it's Matt. That sucks. I want them to know up front that I'm there, so I'm a known quantity.
You don't want to get Japan timed like when we were, you know, staying up for Smash Bros. Brawl until like 3 a.m. to see if there was a character reveal, and got really upset when Sonic wasn't announced until like the very end. Yeah. If
anything, like I'd want to be when Pokemon Trainer got announced, because I feel like that was the hypest I've ever been when a character got announced. But I feel like the chances of that happening are very low.
I feel like when we talk about like unlockable characters, the first game I think of is Smash Bros. Right? So like I just really
that's what
want
I was thinking
like
of too. Yeah.
I just really want like that cool montage, like silhouette kind of thing of like me and they're like a challenger approaching, and then it's just like me. Like that would be pretty fucking cool. I think. You know? So
I don't think I would make a very good blob, like a shadow blob.
Sure, but I want to feel that cool once in my life, you know? Like we're here talking about isekais. I don't get a chance to be cool a lot, you know? So
sorry. You're describing you wanting to feel cool by you showing up at school when people don't know it's you.
Exactly. Because the more people know about you. No, because the more people know me and know about me, the less they like me. So if I'm just kind of like this mysterious figure, then they would like me more, you know? So, yeah.
I feel like you might be heading towards that disappointment of, who's this? Oh, it's just Rakush.
I'm gonna actually go isekai myself into my bed now because I think I need to go cry
true.
at how the last hour has gone, because more than just finally finding one of our best friends, Jaren, in the Super Mario Isekai universe, I've also found out that, you know, I have a lot of insecurities, and so thanks for that, Matt.
Yeah, no problem, man. That's what I'm here for.
To make me feel insecure.
Yo, I'm 24/7.
That's a beautiful friendship that we have.
All
All right. Well, what else you want to say? What else you want to talk about? You got anything else you want to add to this conversation about isekais today?
I don't know. I generally like isekai as a concept. I feel like it's a very easy building block for being able to just drop yourself into a story.
An isekai, if you will.
Yeah, it's an isekai. And like, I don't know. I kind of like it as an easy concept. Like isekai, I think is just like junk food.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's easy consumption. I think that's about where isekai lives for me.
I guess like summarizing my thoughts on the genre, like I'm particularly indifferent to it more than I have any kind of like hatred or disdain for it, mainly because I understand why it's like, you know, good slop for people who consume a lot of anime. Like it kills the time, you know, it's just like mindless fun. in my case, I guess I'm not I'm watching more than I have in the past, but more for me is like 4 or 5 series versus like, 15 to 20, right? So it's like I personally don't feel that I have the time to kind of like, just keep that running in the background and just watch that kind of stuff, So that's where my indifference comes in, where it's like I see the need to kind of like, pad out the release calendars, and I see the charm of some of these shows, but it doesn't necessarily appeal to me. Does not mean that it's a bad genre.
No, yeah, I agree.
All right, Matt. I think that's it for this week's episode. I think it was a race against time, but we did what we needed to do. Our friend hopefully is back in the coming week to 2, and I hope he's not too traumatized after being stuck in the Mario Bros. Universe in the call center, acting as if he's Luigi. So, Jaren, if you're listening out there, just know our thoughts are with you. Miss you.
I miss you.
Take it away, Matt.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of Isn'tekais.